Did anybody have a story that they wanted to share?
Hi, I'm Mary, and I'm just going to sit right here. When I was working with SOS, which I was only able to do for a brief period of time, but I really enjoyed, I was explaining that I met a young man. He was a few years younger than me. He had been out of prison for a couple of years, and he was working on maintaining abstinence from the disease of addiction. And even in that 2 years of being released from prison, he was still on the streets and homeless. And while we were conversing over dinner, he explained all of these situations to me, and I really felt my heart go out to him. And about 6 months later, I saw him at a grocery store, and he remembered me because the conversation was so deep that he explained that he is no longer on public assistance, that he had actually received housing through the SOS program, so he's no longer staying at Roy's. He had his own place to live, and he was in school and also working. So the success from such a simple thing as cooking somebody dinner that one night, I feel like I didn't change his life. I feel like the services of all of us combined together gave him one more evening to keep going so that he could succeed.
Our table came up with many, many examples, actually, of ways that people's lives can be transformed and changed here at St. Paul through a very personal thing like ushering and loving a person through a difficult time of leaving the church and having to move with family and having to leave the place that they love, to the opportunities of Well in the Desert, the Roy's Desert Resource Center, all of the different ministries that we come together and support and provide people for. And we kind of also looked at our Sunday bulletin, and it's a perfect synopsis of everything that we do, beginning with our mission statement, which we live out every day of every week here at St. Paul's through the worship service, the music, the ministry of everything that's in there, coming to the table where everybody is welcome. We have a lot of people here, several people at the table, who are very new and come from different religious backgrounds, and they all feel welcome and supported and empowered. And last of all, we don't know how many lives have been changed here. I don't know how much my life has been transformed because I've been here, because I can't go back and not be here. So who knows what this has done, what St. Paul's and this church has done for all of us. And that might be the untold transformation. Thank you.
Peter and I had pretty much the same thought. Our story was actually sitting at the table with us briefly. He's out washing dishes, and that's our own John Hanson. He's the same age as our son Daniel, so he's 29, and we watched he and his brother grow up. And at some point, we thought perhaps John might have kind of a similar path that his brother has taken, and that is really not the case. John has stuck around, not just stuck around, but has chosen to be here at St. Paul's and volunteers in pretty much any capacity that he can find time for. He is a meat cutter by profession. He's also the head referee at the AYSO out in Desert Hot Springs for soccer. But he's involved in so many different ministries, and it's just been so exciting to see him, one of our few young people that has actually stayed here and made a choice. His family moved to Sacramento, and we've become kind of his surrogate family, and has found his place here with us. And we just felt like he was our, not success story, but just kind of an ongoing transformation story in our midst here. So, John Hanson.
Judy and Terry, I'm getting this right this time, have a wonderful story about coming here. Which one of you is Catholic? Former, whatever. And she came here, and she loved the services, of course, as we all do, and the importance of what we do during the service and all the tradition and so forth. But when they heard about, I guess when they read the mission statement the first time, one of them said, when somebody brought up gay and lesbian in church, was it you, Judy? Was saying, Terry was saying how she thought God was going to come down and just crush this church and the windows would all be broken. But everybody just sat there and listened, and everybody was welcome. And that's how I certainly feel as a person who came from a Jewish background, came to this church, felt welcomed after I started learning more about it. And as I always say, I took the fast track. I got baptized, confirmed, and married in the first 5 years of attending here. Thank you, Andrew. And so it totally did change our lives, but I think that the welcoming feeling in this church is something that we all feel at this table, that everybody is welcome, not just at the table, but at dinners and at coffee hours and at church and wherever we are. We just really love being here. It's part of the people. The clergy are fine too, I always say. Thank you very much for that. And we have David here as well, but it's the people who make us feel like we have a family. And I do call this our faith family because we do see everybody here more than we see our own blood relatives. And they're joyful, and we're very happy about that. And thank you all for sharing your story.
What did I tell you? See? I told you you would have those stories. But we're slow to recognize them. We tend to chalk them up to individual virtue. You know, it wasn't me, it wasn't this hardworking young man who got his life together. It wasn't those virtuous professors. It was those virtuous professors, that hardworking young man. It wasn't us. We overlook the fact that those people were formed in this community. You overlook all the years of formation, the years of corporate worship on Sunday that opens hearts and makes them welcoming so that, you know, it isn't God, by the way, that crashes through the roof. You know, that never was God. You forget that this is years and years of corporate life that bring about these moments of miracle. It took 30 years for my client in Chicago to go from ashes to that first college acceptance. What Heifer International doesn't tell you when they take your $500 is that the cow is donated by an American farmer. The $500 covers the cost of shipping the livestock and training the recipient in animal husbandry, so that it's the training, not the cow, that changes first one family's life, and then another family's, and then another family's, until an entire village is transformed by just one gift. Now, does that sound familiar? So what does it cost to change a life here at St. Paul? This was very hard for your staff to figure out, by the way. But when I talked to some of you before I came here and said, so tell me about your experience at St. Paul, many of you talked about the worship service. And I think it was last year, Cheryl, that you did a testimony about 2 years ago, long time ago, ancient history, where Cheryl talked about, and then somebody else told me this afternoon about walking into a service and saying, and I was just so struck, and I just kept coming back and coming back and coming back. That was $1,300 worth of changing a life. The 10 o'clock service runs about $1,311 to plan, execute, and put on. Welcoming all those religious backgrounds back there. One confirmation class, $1,150. We heard Ryan who was at the 4 o'clock service? Yeah. Ryan came in and talked about pastoral care, after he and his partner split up, how he just drifted away from the church. How many people see that happen? Whatever, whether you're same-sex or heterosexual couples, you break up and you just can't show your face at church again. Pastoral care runs you $52 an hour, or with the support of pastoral visitors who get trained and supported and sent out, then this is what the secular nonprofit world calls leveraging. Your volunteers spread that down to about $10 a visit. So you are making a difference, whether your pledge is large or small. These are the things that you have made happen. The young man whose life was changed because $200 worth of investment a week to cook in the kitchen here. The young man who came back to church because somebody took the hour to call. If you have a pledge, if you supported St. Paul, you were a part of making that happen. And so, my brothers and sisters, I did not come here tonight to tell you to pledge to St. Paul because God loves a cheerful giver, or because the Bible commands us to hand over our first fruits. I did not come here to tell you anything. I came to show you that you already have the seeds that can change the world. Now go plant them.